Hi guys, it's Crystal. Today I'm going to show you guys how to make this super adorable Bible cover. And this was inspired, and I'm doing this basically like a dedication for King Bible Lessons. I've talked about him before. I'll talk about that more here in just a little bit. He had sent me some fabrics and some other things, and so I wanted to create something that was based off of what his channel's about, which is about teaching the Bible. So I found this super cute design from Shabby Chic's fabrics, and she has this little nice printable that you can print, and that way you can work off of this. Okay, so the things that I would change, and I'll talk about this more at the end of the video, because obviously I've already made this, and then you'll see me talk at the end, but on the printable that she has out here, for the lining fabric, so on the outer fabric it says height +2 and then width +2, and then on the lining she has height +1 and width +1. I highly recommend that you take and change, let me go ahead and mark this out. I highly recommend that you change where it says +1 and add 2. So instead of it being 1, do 2. So you want to do these identical. That is going to be my recommendation. And I'm going to go ahead and say it now because you're going to see through the video there's a difference between cutting these. But whenever the file down below that I'm going to share for the Cricut to cut this out, these are going to be correct for this size Bible. Now, if you would want to measure out yours the way that this paper tells you to do it, and I'll have that link down below. And make sure, but when you get to your lining here where it says height +1 and then width +1, change that to a 2. Just make sure these two are going to be identical in sizing, okay? So you want to make sure those are going to be the same. And so that's just what I wanted to say right now. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Okay, so these are some of the supplies that you're going to need. So you're going to need some fabrics, and what I'm using today is the Cricut little bundle of fabrics, and it is the Apricot and Persimmons by, let me see, by Carnina Gardner. And so this is the, you get, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different fabrics in here, and they are 12 by 26, and I like how long they are, especially for this project here. These fabrics I actually got from King Bible Lessons, and I've mentioned him before. He's a young kid, and he is teaching the Word of the Bible. He actually sent these to me and surprised me yesterday, and I got these in the mail, as well as a letter, and he also sent me these daily devotions. He sent me this book. He sent me this Sharpie pen that I had seen that he'd used on his page that I wanted. He sent me that, and he sent me some Cricut felt. So I thought that was super sweet of him. So a huge shout out to King Bible Lessons. Thank you so much for these things. So I wanted to do a video based on like what he does. So he works with the Bible. So today I wanted to do a Bible cover. So I'm going to use the fabrics they sent to do that. So I found this nice pattern from Shabby Chic's fabrics, and she has this printable, and I'm going to have all these links down below. Her video that she did on this, as well as her pattern, as well as her webpage, so you can go check it out. She has stuff for sale there too. So this is the pattern that she provides here. So you're going to take your Bible and you're going to measure it. And so she has all this provided here. You put the height, the width, the depth, and then you come down here and she tells you like the height you would add to for the outer. So you're just going to fill all this in so you know your exact measurements for your Bible. So that's pretty neat. And what I'm going to do today is cut this out with the Cricut. So I took in Design Space and created a square, and then unlocked it and then made it the sizes I needed. I'm going to share that file down below as well. That way, if your Bible is the similar same size as mine, you can use it, or you could go back and make the adjustments after you print this page out, or you don't even have to print it, you can write it down to figure out your exact measurements to make this. Okay, so some of the things that you're going to need, you're going to want some clips or some pins. And then your fabrics, of course. And like I said, I really like using this bundle because they are 12 by 26 because you're going to need the length. Or you could go get some quarter fabrics from Hobby Lobby or something like that. So the 3 pieces that I'm using today out of the set is going to be these right here. This is going to be my pockets on the inside to hold the Bible covers, as well as my button loop. And then this is going to be the inside lining, as well as my handles on the bag. And then this is going to be my outside fabric, as well as the bookmark that's going to go on the inside. So those are the 3 pieces I'm using today. And then you're going to need fusible fleece for your outside, because you're going to quilt that if you want to quilt that. You want fusible fleece, but I'm just using regular cotton batting for this. So I will use my quilter's pins here to get that all pinned down. And what I did was I hand cut this piece and I left it about 1 inch around, so that way when I quilt, if it pulls in, I can trim the excess on the outside of this. So I hand cut this out. And then you're going to need some interfacing. So this stuff I think I got from Walmart for just a couple dollars. And you can get it pretty much anywhere. But I hand cut this as well because I didn't want to put this on my Cricut and fiddle with one more thing. So I hand cut this as well to the size that I needed. And then you're going to need some ribbon. If you're going to do the bookmark that's inside, you'll need 8 inches of a piece of ribbon. And then also it's nice to have a friction pin unless you have a fabric pin. I like to use a friction pin, that way whenever you, when you want to get rid of your marks, you can use your iron. Like I said, the blue pins have never really worked for me, and then you have to fuss with washing it and all that. The friction pins are amazing, and I will put a link down below if you're looking for those. Because I got mine from Missouri Star Quilt Company, but you can find them on Amazon and stuff like that. And maybe your local sewing shop would have one, but I couldn't find them at Hobby Lobby or anything like that. And the last thing that you'll need is the heat and bond. That way, if you want to take your 2 pieces, I'm going to cut out some hearts, you'll see that later on, for your bookmark, you can put heat and bond on one side and then iron it to the other to have it completely together. Use the light one where you can sew on it, or you can I'm not going to be stitching on it, so I'm going to use regular heat and bond. And then I'm not going to add this to my fabric to have it cut out by the Cricut, just because I'm going to have it cut out my outside as well at the same time off the same fabric. So I'm just going to cut me a little piece, put it on there, and I'll trim around it. No big deal. But you can do that however you want to. If you want to separate it and then have your Cricut cut it, you can put this on there and have your Cricut cut it out. It will do it. Same thing as it will cut through the fusible fleece if you wanted to have it cut it, and it will do the interfacing as well. So it's just up to you, preference, however you want to do that. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so now I've got all my pieces cut out with the Cricut. So I cut out my 2 hearts out of the same fabric as my, this is going to be my front of my Bible cover. So I cut out my 2 hearts at the same time. And then this is going to be my lining for my inside. And then this is going to be my 2, whenever I fold them, they're going to be my handles. And then you have your inside lining pockets that will be folded, I believe, like this. So these are going to be folded just like this on here. I'll show you just a second. And then so we got 2 of those, and then I have my little for my buttonhole. Okay, so I got all those pieces. So I cut these out at the same time, and what I did was on my mat, your mat is 12 by 24. I put my fabric, because it's 12 by 26 at the top, let the excess hang off the end. That way if you're going to do your straps the same color as your inside lining, it's going to separate it to 2 separate mats, because these are going to end up being longer than your 12 by 24. So when you get done cutting this piece, you'll move your bottom piece up towards fabric up towards the top of your mat, and then it will cut out these 2 pieces here. So just leave that excess hanging off the bottom of your mat. Okay, so let's go ahead and get all of these lined up to what I need them to do, and then we'll go step by step on the sewing machine. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with our outside lining. And what we're going to do is, like I said, now if you were using fusible fleece, you would want to go ahead and get that down and iron it on. But I'm not using the fusible fleece. So I'm going to go ahead and lay this down on top of here, and then flip it over. And like I said, you can see the excess on the outside. I wanted to make sure that if it scrunched up at all, I wouldn't lose any batting since I'm not doing the fusible. And what we're going to do is we're going to make our marks. And so I'm not too sure if we're going to be able to see my my pin. Okay, so I'm going to take my ruler and just start wherever you want to make your lines. So I'm going to start right about here, from corner to corner is where I'm going to start. And I'm going to go ahead and try to get my fabric pinned down and see if I won't be able to somewhat see it. And if not, like I said, I'll come back and use chalk. So I think I can see that pretty good. So then you want to move over 2 inches. So I'm going to line that up. Just like that. And then I'm going to make my next mark, making sure I'm making it good enough to where I can see what I'm doing. All right. And then move over another 2 inches. And you can do whatever quilting pattern you want to do on this, and you don't even have to quilt it if you don't want to. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and keep marking this. So you probably won't be able to pick these lines up on top of here. So I apologize for that. If I use the chalk, you guys probably would be able to see what I'm doing. So I'm gonna go ahead and make my next mark 2 inches. All right, and then one more time. Get that lined up there. And I got one more little piece down here. All right, so now I'm gonna come back this direction, marking 2 inches, lining this up where I need it to be, just like that. I'm going to make my line on this side. All right, so I'm gonna come 2 more inches, just lining it up. And what I just love about this pen, like I said before, you can just iron this right out. It's just my favorite way to mark. I need to get some of the other colors. They do have them in different colors. That way when I'm working on black, I'd be able to see it better, like the white pen or something. So I think I need to order one of those when I get done with this video. I've told myself about 1,000,000 times to do that. All right, and we got one more little piece here. All right, so I've got all those marked. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna do the same thing with the other direction. So I'm gonna go from corner to corner, and I'm gonna mark this way. All right, so we're gonna go over 2 more inches, just like this. There we go. And then come over 2 more inches. And what's good about this pin, like you see where I get off track just a little bit there, it's no big deal because it's gonna come off. So it's no big deal as long as I've got my straight line going on here. Then I'm gonna go over 2 more inches. Making sure I've got everybody lined up here. All right, and then 2 more inches. Got a little spot up here in the corner. All right, now I'm gonna work myself this way. Just making sure I'm lining them up. What I like about this ruler, because I just set it right on top of my little line just like this, and set it right on top of where it's drawn on, and I can see the black line underneath to see where I'm at. All right. All right, we're gonna come over 2 more inches. All right, and again. Making sure I've got everybody lined up. All right, and we're gonna see one more time. Tiny little spot here. Okay, so there we go. And I don't know if you guys can pick this up or not and see all these little lines, but you'll see it once I get it sewn, see what I'm talking about. I'm gonna go ahead and pin it. And like I said, if you use fusible fleece, you won't have to do this, but I'm just using, I like to use whatever I have on hand, and this is what I had on hand. So that's what I'm doing. But like I said, if you have fusible fleece, you would not need to do this. You wouldn't need to pin it. So I'm just gonna pin this in a few spots so I can make sure everybody stays where it needs to be. All right. And I think I'll go ahead and get one on each of the sides here. All right, we'll put one like right up here. All right, that should be good enough pinned for me to work for a smaller project like this. So I'm gonna go ahead and set this aside. I'm going to go ahead and iron this as much as I could because I'm using that little mini iron so I could get this crease out, but it's no big deal. So I'm gonna go ahead and lay my interfacing on it. And you want to, when you feel this, you can feel like the bumps on one side and the other side feels smooth. You want to put the bumps face down because that's how you're going to get this on here. And like I said, I did not use my Cricut to cut this one out, but you can. All right, and this is just gonna help give this some body. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and iron this down on top of this. So I went ahead and moved my little pressing board over here so you guys can see what I'm doing. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to iron this right on top of this. So I just like to get it from this side first to just kind of get it adhered a little bit. Then I'll flip it over and do it. All right, so I'm very carefully gonna flip this over, just like that. Okay, so I'm just continuing to go all the way across this, just kind of holding for a second, pressing down, just to get it to hold. And if you guys will notice in all my videos, you'll see me wearing hoodies all the time. I'm not wearing long sleeves, I'm wearing hoodies all the time. I'm always freezing. So I pretty much keep my hoodies on 24/7. Okay, so I think that should be good enough. So now we have got those connected together. So what I'm gonna do for this piece is figure out our pockets. That's gonna hold our Bible in place. Let's see what we're gonna do. You wanna figure out which one is the same length, or the same length. So then you want to fold it this way, and then you're gonna press. So that way we have that little side here all pressed out. All right, so just like that. And then what you're gonna do is this is gonna go with the open sides here. You're gonna put it right up against this side. Just get it real even on here. Just like that, all right? And we're gonna do the same thing with this side. So I like to see how if you do it this way, you can see that that's not going to be tall enough. So you'll know, okay, I need to turn it this way. And you can always start with the back side so that way when you fold it, so then I know that's the right one. And then I'm going to press this one. All right, just like that. Now I'm gonna go ahead and trim these little bit of threads up. All right, so now what you're gonna do, same thing. You wanna have the open side up against this raw side right here, okay? So that's what it's gonna be, just like that. So that's how this is gonna be so far. Okay, so now I'm gonna set this out of the way so I can work on our handles and stuff. So we're gonna move this. We're gonna work on our handles and our button loop. And also I forgot to mention that you're gonna need a 3/4 button. And so I'm gonna grab that here in just a little bit. Okay, so let's go ahead and work on the handles next, okay? And my camera's not picking this up, but this is a really pretty like apricot color. So what you're gonna do first is fold it completely in half, and you're going to press that out. Okay, just like that. And then you're going to take and open it back up. And then you're gonna fold this side all the way to that line right there. You're just gonna fold it right on in like that. And then press that out. All right, so once you get that pressed out, you're gonna do the same thing to this side. So you're just gonna fold it all the way into that line that you made. All right, so now this is where we're gonna go ahead and take our fusible interfacing here, just to kind of give this a little bit more body. So you're gonna wanna put that right inside one of these creases right here. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and get that pressed down. And make sure, like I said, you put the bump side down. Just give it a little bit of a press. Okay, just like that. Then you're going to take where you're going to fold it in, both sides in again, just like this. And you're going to fold it over and give it a real nice press. All right, so that looks good enough for me for now. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to go ahead and put a clip on here so that way I can hold these in place. Just like this, and I'll probably put one in the middle and one right down here. All right, so there's our first one, and we're going to set it aside. All right, so we're going to come back and do our next one. So we want to fold it completely in half. And just press all the way down. All right. And then fold it in half again to that line. All right. And this would even be cute to make for like a little, like a journal or something like that, or your little planners. You would just measure it the same exact way that you would do this. And like I said, I highly recommend that you go print out her free printable paper that kind of gives you the guide. It's easier to work with. Or just go over there and then write down exactly what she's got, so that way you can create your own. That way, if you're not close by a printer, you could just write it down so you can keep track of what your sizes are. All right, same thing. We're going to take our fusible interfacing, and we're going to kind of get this going. Now, we're going to go ahead and fold these in again. Fold them right on top of each other. And I'm going to give it a little bit of a press, just to kind of keep it where it needs to be. All right, and then same thing. I'm going to go ahead and clip these down. Clip, clip, and clip. All right, so those are done. All right, and then we've got our buttonhole. Now, the option is you can either, I don't think she showed this, but I was thinking about it. So I cut a tiny little piece because I had enough scrap pieces from cutting those. You could take and cut down a little piece here, and I think I cut this 1/4 inch. So the size that she gives you for this, I believe it's like 1.5 inches wide. I did a 1/4 inch to set down in here. I'm going to go ahead and add that in there to give this just a little bit of body. So, and like I said, I don't think she showed that because, I mean, you don't have to, but I think I would like to have that little bit of extra there. So we're going to try it. All right, and then we're going to do the same thing. So you folded it in half. We're going to fold this up to that line. And I just like working with, like I said, with a smaller project like this, I just like pulling out this little iron. I've kind of taken over it. Like I said, it belongs to my daughter, got it for her birthday. But I really like pulling that out. And I actually, my sister's the one that actually purchased this because I was going to get it. And then I had already gotten some other things. So my sister's the one that ended up paying for this. I was just thinking of that. She's probably watching and being like, hey, I got that. Oh, my Lord. Okay. So same thing, I'm going to lay that little piece of interfacing. I don't know if you guys can pick that up or not. I've got it laid down there, bumped side down, right in between one of those little cracks between the fold lines. And I'm just kind of pressing that down. Now we're going to do the same thing where we fold these over. Just got to be careful because this is still super, super hot. Super hot. All right, so fold these down. And then, hold on, let's see. Get this. All right. Our entire household has been, so I may sound like I'm sick or something, just in case you guys wonder, but our entire household has been sick for the last several weeks. It's been a nightmare. We went to the doctor yesterday. I was so worried I had the flu, but we don't. Just another virus going around. But so that's where I've kind of been. I hadn't been doing some live videos and stuff, and that's why, because we've just been kind of sick. And I've had the kids home, and then my father-in-law was down, and then we've had all this stuff going on. So Anyways, but back to the video. So I've got my little piece folded down. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna go ahead and take a couple clips here. And just in case somebody wants to know, these clips I got from Hobby Lobby, and I used a 40% off coupon. So there we go. Okay, and then now with the 2 hearts, this is what we're gonna do. So you gotta cut an 8-inch piece of ribbon. All right, so I've got my 8-inch piece of ribbon cut here. You can use whatever color you want to do to correspond with your stuff, just plain white, whatever, but this is what I had on hand once again. I'm gonna go ahead and actually use the light one. This is actually just if you're wanting to sew and stuff, but I think it'd be easier to work with today, not so thick for my book. So I'm gonna use the light heat and bond since I showed you, but you can also use the Ultra Hold if you want to, if that's what you have on hand. But I also have this on hand, so I'm gonna go ahead and use it just because I think it would be easier for me to work with the inside of my book so it's not so stiff. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to put it on my heart just like this, but then I'm going to very carefully, so I don't get it all over my iron, just get my iron right down in here, get this kind of halfway held down, and then I'm gonna trim around it. All right, that's good enough for now, so let me go ahead and trim around it really quick. Okay, so now that I have that iron down, I'm gonna go ahead and peel the paper off the back, just like that. So I've already got my sticky on there. So this one I did not, because it's gonna stick to this side. So I'm gonna have this side down so I can see what I'm doing, and lay this right on top. You can always check if you want to, but you can always trim off any excess. Okay, while this was still warm, I went ahead and pulled this back open because I forgot to tell you that at this point, before you put these 2 together, you know, it's always me, I gotta do something different. Okay, what you need to do when you put these 2 together to iron on, you want to add your ribbon in at this point, so that way it's on the inside there, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and put my ribbon right down in there, and then go ahead and iron down. Before you put these 2 together, you wanna lay down the side that has the heat and bond, then put your ribbon in, then put your other heart on top, and then iron down. That way this holds inside. But luckily for me, and if you make the same mistake, you gotta learn from my mistakes. Luckily for me, you just, while it's still warm, you can always hit it with the iron one more time, heat it up, kind of peel it back open, pop it in, then heat it back down. Okay, so that's ready to go. So let me go ahead and show you how we're gonna do this. So we're gonna go over to the sewing machine. We're gonna take our binding pieces. We're gonna take our handles here, and we're gonna go, and she did 1/8 of an inch. So you wanna do 1/8 of an inch all the way down to get these sewn up, and then go ahead and do 1/8 of an inch on the other side to even it up, and then to make it look really pretty, okay? So you wanna do those, and then you're gonna do the same thing with this one, but because it's so small, she talked about that in her video, you only wanna do 1/8 of an inch all the way down on the opening because it's just so tiny. So you wanna do that, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna come back here and I'll show you our next step to putting this together. So this is not ready yet. And then we're gonna take this to the sewing machine now as well, and we're gonna go ahead and do straight lines all the way down where I did my marking. And I'll bring this up so maybe you guys can see my marks on there now. So we're gonna go ahead and sew straight down on these lines both ways, get that quilted, then we'll come back here, put those other pieces together and show you how we're gonna do that. So we wanna sew 1/8 of an inch, so I'm gonna go ahead and drop my foot. And we're gonna do, as always, you wanna go forward a few stitches and then back a few stitches to lock those in. Then back. All right. I'm gonna unclip that. Just making sure I'm holding everybody together. All right, then I'm going to come back a few stitches. All right, so we're going to take this and trim it just like that. And now we're going to come do the other side. I'm going to do it the same way. So just get it right underneath here, up our foot. Come forward a few stitches, then back a few stitches. All right. right, we're gonna reverse, just like that. Go ahead and trim this one off. And this is what it looks like. And I really like that white too because it stands out, but this is what it looks like whenever you've got this all done. So now we're gonna go ahead and do our next one. So I'm gonna unclip it here. Get it right underneath. Go backwards. Reverse it. All right, and go ahead and trim it. Now, one of the things is you really don't have to reverse these because they're going to be sewn in your seams anyways. But like I've talked about in previous videos, I really stress to go ahead and do it, especially if you're not really, I mean, because like I stress to do it because you, looking forward a few stitches in the back. I really stress to do it just because you don't want to put all this hard work into it and then get to messing around with it and then some of your stitches come undone. So I just recommend that you go ahead. It takes just a second. All right, and then we're gonna go ahead and lift this up, trim these. All right, so now we have both handles done. That's what it looks like. So I'm gonna move those out of the way. We'll look at them closer here in just a minute when we get back to the board. I'm gonna go ahead and trim these while I'm here just so I have those ready to go. That looks good to me. All right, that's good. Okay, so now we're gonna go in with the small one. We're gonna do an 1/8 inch, like we said, just on one side. Let's see. We're going to get up right underneath here and drop the thing so you can see how tiny this is to get underneath here to be, you know, fiddling with both sides. Okay, so you're going to come forward just a few stitches. All right, reverse it. All right. Drop our foot. See, I'm already having issues with it wanting to go through just because it's so tiny. So I'm gonna go ahead and trim this. All right, now it's already got my locking stitch in because it's held so much. I don't know if you'll be able to, there we go. It's already got it stuck in there. So I'm just gonna go past it just a little bit to kind of get it to pick it up. Because your feed dogs is what's gonna be because it's just such a tiny piece of fabric. So now you can see why she stresses just to get the one side done. All right. There we go, and then I'm gonna reverse it, just like that. All right, and see, and it almost pretty much just puts it right in the center. So just like that. So there you go, so you can see I've got it locked all the way in down there. So just like that. So there's that piece. I'm gonna go ahead and trim these so we have them. I'm gonna start with the one in the middle. So I'm gonna go ahead and just drop my foot just like this. And go ahead and actually, yes, okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and drop my foot just like that. I'm gonna come forward, and I'm not gonna worry about back stitching on this because there's so much. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull that out, trim it back under here at the next line, drop her foot. just like that. Now I'm going to go ahead and trim it. Do our next line. Trim it again. Now, if you already know how to do quilting like this, you can always fast forward to get past this. I just wanted to show people that haven't really done this before to show how easy it is. All right, stop, trim, and we're gonna start here again. Stop. All right, trim. Now I'm going to go ahead and flip it over and get my other sides done. I'm going to stop right here, go ahead and pull this one out because I see I'm getting too close. Same thing. I like to stop ahead of time before you get too close with that. You don't want to be running those over. All right, so then we've got 2 more to go, I believe. So we're going to get it underneath here. Now that's a little bit close as well, so I'm going to go ahead and pull it out. And then I really should have done this with the white so y'all guys could really see, but I really want to be able to utilize this too. So I was like, I'm gonna at least do this in black. All right, so keep coming. All right, we're gonna trim it and go ahead and get our last little piece down here. All right, trim. Now we're gonna go in the opposite direction. So what I'm gonna do here is, let's see, we're gonna go ahead and, see, I think that's what I did a while ago. I didn't finish the lines going all this one way when I flipped it. So let me go ahead and come back this way. I had a feeling I did that. We're gonna keep coming across our lines. And let me put another side in here. I'm going to stop, pull this one. Stop, pull this one. Trim. All right, trim. Trim. And I'm not worried about, I'm going to have to trim up these threads because whenever I come back to cut this outside off, that's going to do it for me. All right, now we can go ahead and turn the opposite direction to finish sewing this way since I'd already started it when I switched. And it doesn't matter, I mean, how you do it. as long as you just go up and down all these lines. Right, a couple more to go. One last one. All right, so just like that. So let me go ahead and take this over there and we'll show you what we got. Okay, so now that we've got all that done, this is what we're gonna do. You're gonna bring this back over to your pressing board and you're gonna go ahead and iron to get all of that friction pin off. And just go ahead and smooth everything out. And I just love it because now your markings are gone. You don't have to wash it or anything like that. And like I said, I really hope that Cricut is gonna come up with something for the Cricut maker like that has the friction pin. And I'm kind of thinking with those adapters that you can buy off the, like Amazon or something like that, I wonder if those would fit them because I just absolutely love them. So Cricut, if you're listening, I really want that instead of the blue pin. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and just trim all of this excess off here. So I'm just gonna use my scissors. I don't know if all of this is okay, so you guys can see what I'm doing. So I'm just trimming all the way around this excess side here, which is, like I told you before, is just trimming off all that extra thread. So you don't have to be sitting there worried about snipping all of that. All right, so just like that, we have all that done. So now if you look at this side, you can see the quilting. You can see it better, so you can see how it does like all these diamond shapes. So you can't really see it because it's blended in on this side, but you could definitely see it on this side. So you can see what it looks like, because I mean, it's hard to see on camera on that side. Okay, so what we're gonna do at this point, I'm gonna set this back aside. You're gonna bring back in this piece here, okay? So you wanna make sure everybody's lined up like it's supposed to be, just like this, okay. And you're making sure that the folded piece is here in the middle, and this is gonna be our next step. So what you wanna do is you wanna take and fold this in half. Oop. Just like this, just so you can see your crease marks. All right. Now, and then what she did was she took her little pin and just made a little mark right here on the corner there, and you don't have to worry about ironing this out because it's gonna go in your seam allowance. All right, so you're gonna make a mark there, so that way, let me go ahead and move my pressing board out of the way because we're done with it. So now you have everything lined up. Well, the next step you're gonna do is your handles. So you wanna take your handles here, and you want to, I believe, because you're gonna have them out like this. So you just wanna make sure that you're gonna go over 2 inches. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this piece right here, right on one of these lines, so you can see your 2 inches like this. So I'm gonna go ahead and lay this at the move this over 2 inches. And then go ahead and get my clip and clip this just like that. And I'm gonna do the same thing. So coming over from my middle piece here, I'm gonna come over 2 inches. So on that 3rd inch is where you're going to clip that, just like that. And then we're gonna do the same thing for the other side. All right, so just like this, we're gonna make sure this is lined up to our line there. We're gonna move it over 2 inches and 2 inches, just like that. I'm gonna go ahead and take my clip and clip this one down as well. All right, just like that. Okay, now for our next piece that we're gonna have is you wanna have this right in the center. So I'm just gonna carefully move everybody over to make sure, just figure out what your top and bottom is because you want this at the top. Just gonna make sure this is even and then count over. All right, so this is my center mark here, so I'm gonna go ahead and get this held in here. Just like, I'm gonna kind of move this up just a hair, like that. All right, because I made my heart, so depending on the size of your heart there, so I'm gonna kind of move mine up. I'm gonna kind of, because I should have put my cord a little bit more down in here, so I don't mind to kind of sit right in here on my Bible, so I'm gonna go ahead and do it here, and then I'll clip that off here in just a minute. So figure out which one's gonna be the underneath of your Bible cover, so I know whenever this is folded over, this is gonna be the bottom. So then you wanna go ahead and put your button cover on there, like this. And you wanna make sure that's centered up. So I'm just making sure that that is centered up there, and I'm gonna go ahead and just stick mine one on each side of the, right on each side of that middle mark there. Just like that. So that way when this comes over, it can hold on to my button. And now at this point, so this is all ready to go, okay? So you can either, if you have enough experience, you can go ahead and lay this, so you're gonna have them right sides together. You're gonna get this butted up on here just like this. And you're gonna go ahead and stitch a 1/4 inch all the way around. And then you're gonna leave a gap down at the bottom. So like this would be the bottom of mine. You're gonna leave, let's see, about a 5-inch gap on the bottom, so that way you can flip this around. Or you can go ahead and take this over to the machine. She had mentioned this. Go ahead, and I thought it was super smart. Go ahead and go 1/8 inch all the way around to just hold everything down so you don't have to worry about nothing shifting. Okay, and then now if you were wanting to sew on a buttonhole with your machine, you would want to, at this point, figure out, so like when you have this on here, this is going to be the side that has the button. You'd want to go ahead and sew your button on here and have that ready to go. If not, you would want to, I'm going to hand stitch mine on, so I'm not going to worry about that. Okay, so so let me go ahead and take this back over to the machine. Okay, so I've switched back over to the white thread because whenever I do my top stitching, that's what I'm going to do. So I went ahead and switched. So I'm going to go ahead and get this underneath here and sew 1/8 inch all the way around. That way I can just make sure I'm capturing everybody. So I'm going to start right up here at this corner. Drop my foot. And just making sure that I'm going to keep everything lined up as I'm going along. And we're just doing 1/8 inch. So we're going to come forward a few stitches. Go ahead and go backwards because like I said, you don't want to have all that work. Then have to, you know, come back and re-sew something. Just making sure everything's staying lined up here. All right. So I'm going to keep sewing down. I'm going to keep this on as long as I can, and I'm actually going to come from this side so that way I can hold it there as long as I possibly can. I'm going to pull it out. Keeping everything lined up. All right, make sure this is laying up here where it's supposed to be. Everything's lined up. Pick my foot up just a little bit so I can make sure that's under there. Now, like I've talked about before, go ahead and drop your needle at this point. That way you can turn. Just keeping everything together. Make sure everything's lined up where it needs to be. Just helping hold this in place. So I'm going to go ahead and unpin this one so I can make sure everything's lined up where it needs to be. All right, keep coming forward. Gotta keep going. All right, let's go ahead and turn again. I'm gonna move my clip on this side once again so I can keep it there as long as I can. I'm gonna have to lift my foot just to make sure that little guy goes under there. Do it again. Because sometimes those little things wanna just kind of pop up there. So I can pull that off. Now I'm going to try to hold this in place from this side. I'm going to have to lift my foot to make sure that's going underneath there. Drop it. Pick this one up. Make sure I'm holding this little guy in place here. Drop that foot. There we go. All right, so let me go ahead and get this here. And I'm going to go ahead and back stitch. All right, so we're done with that. Okay, so now we've got this sewn all the way around, so all these pieces are held on, and you don't have to worry about these little guys coming off while you're sewing, because sometimes when you sew these things together, something's not going to catch. So now you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. Now I did notice, and sorry guys, because I'm at a different angle because I didn't want to put my camera back up. So, okay, because we'll have to go back to the sewing machine. So one thing I noticed, it's either when I did my calculations with her paper, it made this like a 1/2 inch bigger all the way around than this. But I'm thinking what it is she did that so that way you could, whenever you were quilting, you had that room. So like how I left the excess of this, I didn't really need to. So she left this that way if the quilting, it would bunch up. But since I have all that all the way around, what I'm going to go ahead and do at this point is I'm going to go ahead and take my ruler. I'm going to get it up to the edge of this top piece here. And I'm going to go ahead and zip all the way around, taking off the excess. Right. There we go. So let me go ahead and do this side. So I'm going to go ahead and trim this up and we'll be right back. Okay, so now that I have trimmed off the excess, I'm going to go ahead and carefully, so I don't mess up my stitching here, making sure everybody is inside here. So I'm pushing this down. And what you could always do to make sure that this stays still inside here, you could always put a little pin, but I'm not going to mess with that. But you just want to make sure everybody's folded over and is inside. And like I said, once again, I apologize about the angle. So I'm going to go ahead and from corner to corner, I'm going to make sure I'm lining these up really well. And then I'll go ahead and clip. All right. So I'm going to get my next one and clip, and then get these two down here ready to go and clip those as well. Clip and clip. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add, so I need to leave an opening down here at the bottom 5 inches, so I'm going to go ahead and line this up here a little bit so I can see where my marks are. Do one here so I can remember to leave an opening here, and one here. So this is where my opening, so I'm going to start here and sew all the way around so I can keep up with that and know that's where my opening. I will only put one up here at the top so that way I can see. So this is going to be where I'm going to leave that 5 inches. So everybody is lined up. You can always flip it over and double check that everything seems lined up really well. And so let's go ahead and take this over to the sewing machine and finish it up. All right. So like I said, we're gonna go ahead and start with this opening here. So I'm gonna go ahead and start sewing right here. I'm gonna drop my foot. Go a few stitches, make sure that you back stitch. Now making sure I'm holding everything tight together. I don't want anything to shift. Now my needle is dropped down, so I'm going to go ahead and turn this. And this should be a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. All right, and it's saying I need thread, but I believe I can keep going. Turn. I'm gonna stop and peek at my thread. Just making sure you're holding everything tight. Turn, checking my thread underneath. All right, turning. I'm gonna come to right here. I'm gonna back stitch. We're gonna trim this. All right, so the next thing that you wanna do is you wanna take these corners here to help with bulk, to make that corner look nicer. You wanna go ahead and trim off the excess. And this is our opening here where we're gonna flip through. So go ahead and trim. Trim. And trim. All right, and we're gonna go ahead and get this flipped inside, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and get it all the way over to a corner here and go ahead and start bringing this through. So just very carefully so I don't rip what I've just created. I'm just gonna get it pushed through. Like this. I'm just pushing all these corners out. Like I said, once again, I really don't like this angle of this camera thing, but because I've got so much switching back and forth, I hate to keep putting it back up there. So hopefully this will work for you guys. So I'm gonna get in those corners as good as I can get them. 2 more corners to go. I'm just getting them as much as I can up there. But I definitely want to take that tip into other projects where she had talked about, you know, sewing 1/8 of an inch around when it comes to holding little things in like this, because you won't see it anyways with your seam allowance that you've got to do. So all right, so get those out as much as you possibly can. And then you want to take and just finger press all the way through here to make sure that everything is nice and flat. Just like that. All right, so I'm just pressing everything out. And then what we're gonna do, and you'll see the rest of this whenever I come back here in just a second. So far, this is what it's looking like, just like this. But I'm gonna show you whenever we get the final angle of this. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and take this opening here just like this. You're gonna go ahead and tuck in this little excess pieces that are sticking out, just like that. And this is where you'll want to take your iron again. Let me move this up so you can see. Take your iron and go ahead and press these out. Carefully, because I'm working on my mat and not my pressing board. All right, so you just want to kind of press those out just like that. You want to make sure it's not going to overlap to the top, because we're going to do some top stitching here. All right, so just like that. So whenever I come, so now what we're going to do, we're going to go over to the sewing machine, and I'm going to go ahead and pin these down so that way they'll stay. I'm going to go ahead and clip them so that way they'll stay down. So I'll move this up so y'all can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to go ahead and clip here, just help hold these little guys in, and clip here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and take and sew 1/8 of an inch, just making sure I'm leaving my handles and everything stuck out. And I'm going to leave this guy inside because I want that to be staying down inside, not having to come over. So make sure you leave that tucked inside. I'm going to go from the top side and I'm going to stitch 1/8 of an inch all the way around. So I just want to make sure all my stuff is out. My handles, like I said, make sure your handles are out. Make sure these are poking out. And go stitch 1/8 of an inch all the way around. So let's go ahead and go back to the sewing machine. All right, so we're back over here at the sewing machine. I've got my bobbin replaced. So I'm going to go ahead and drop my foot down. We're going to do about 1/8 of an inch all the way around. So we're going to start here, go a few stitches, reverse it, and then keep going forward. Pull this one out. All right. Make sure when you get here to your, just make sure that this is going to be going underneath there. So I'm just holding everything down. All right. Now I need to come a little bit more. All right, making sure that my strap's out of the way. Keep coming. Now just remember, you're sewing through several layers here. All right, keep going. So I'm just kind of helping guide it through. Now, like I said before, you don't want to leave this hanging out because then you're going to have to fold it down. So I want to make sure I fold that in perfectly. Just like that. Just going to make sure it's going to stay straight. Hold it down. Keep coming through. So it's out of my way now, so I'm going to keep going forward. I'm going to turn. Just helping guide it through the thick layers there. Some of them corners are a little bit tough. You see how I made sure that loop was out there, not inside. All right, now I'm going to back stitch just like that, and now we're going to pull it out, trim it, and I'll meet you back over at the sewing machine. I'm going to go ahead and hand stitch on a button, and then we'll take a look at it. Okay guys, so here is the finished product. I'm going to bring it up so maybe you guys can see that quilting here, and you could do whatever quilting that you wanted. And like I said, you could have always just fast forwarded through that if you kind of know what you're doing, and you don't even have to do this. I just love how it gives it that extra dimension. And then I just love how these colors go together. And I will have this fabric linked down below. This is Cricut, the Apricot collection. And this was, like I mentioned again, is the King Bible Lessons had sent this to me, which I think was so sweet. And he did not even have to do that. And I just thought that was so amazing that he did that. And this is actually fabric that I've been wanting. So, I just love this, and I'll definitely be repurchasing these colors. They're just so cute. But I wanted to dedicate this video to him, so I highly recommend. I'm going to have his channel linked down below. I recommend that you guys please take a moment. If you are a Christian and you want to give somebody support, I just recommend that you go down. I'm going to have his link down below. You go and follow him. It will only take you 2 seconds to follow him and give him that support. And I talk about him because it's just amazing, like I've said in previous videos. It's such a young kid to be doing what he's doing. Love it. And I follow his family on Instagram, his mom, and I mean, she just has the sweetest kids. These are just such sweet people. So he definitely deserves that, and that's why I continue to talk about him. But I was surprised yesterday to check my mail and find all this in there. So this is dedicated to him, so let me go ahead and show you the inside. So the outside I went with this black fabric with these, and I'm hopefully this is picking up the better color. This is actually a little bit brighter than what's showing on camera. Like these are. So let's go ahead and open it and let me show you what it looks like. So let me see, this is the front, and like I said, I went with the white to go ahead and trim that off since I did this and went all the way around that 1/8 of an inch. So that's the front and the back. Now I'd accidentally stuck my Bible in backwards, so this should actually be the front with the button. And then you would have this, but I don't know, I kind of like it where it's kind of clean like this too in the front, so I didn't switch that around in the video just to kind of show you as an option of having your button in the back. So what you do is and I hand stitch this on. You can use your sewing machine to get that down. You just open it up like this, and then it's just right inside like that. So look at how cute those are. Now I wanted to point this out. See how this is overlapping like this? Let me bring it up. So see how that's overlapping, and you have your stitches like this, so it's kind of folded over. I had specifically said, you'll see back there at the sewing, make sure that that's going under your foot straight. So whenever I was coming in this direction, I must have pushed it over this way. So make sure when you're coming that direction, you get that, make sure it's folded over. It's not gonna bother me though, so I'm totally fine with it. So this is what it would look like, just like this. Now, one thing that I had to do to improvise mine, but yours would be correct for this size because I'm gonna change it. So I wanna go ahead, and I talked about this at the beginning of the video, and this is why. So remember whenever I went to cut the outside lining and take that excess off? Well, actually this inside lining should have been the exact same dimensions as the other one, so that's where I messed up. So what I ended up having to do was on the front and back of my Bible, and mine's paper, so it didn't bother me at all. I just went ahead and trimmed off. I'm trying to find my other piece. Let's see, I don't know what I did with my other one, but anyways, I trimmed off just about this much. It's about 1 inch off of both sides, and then it just helped it lay in there just fine because it's going to be in here, so don't bother me. But if you definitely don't want to be doing that, you want to make sure that, because if your Bible's not the same as mine, make sure when it comes down to doing your calculations that your lining fabric is exactly the same size as your outer fabric. And I really should have done some thinking on that. My only thinking was because of the quilting, sometimes that pulls that in, and that may be what her initial thought was, but it still didn't add up to the dimensions right. So either I did something wrong whenever I was doing the depth or something there, but it don't bother me. So that's the only improvisation that I had to make. But like I said, I'm gonna change that for you guys, so make sure that your outer and your inside lining is gonna be the same as your inside. So then that would actually change being able to use the same colors on the inside here, unless you have 2 pieces, because it was perfectly the same size to do the handles, if that makes sense, on the 2 mats I was talking about, because this is the same as our inside lining. So you could just always change the color of your handles or something to do that, since that needs to be another inch. So I know I've rambled a lot in this video, and I know it's quite long, but I know there's a lot of people that get frustrated when I fast forward or go past stuff or delete things that they want to know. Like, say for example, somebody may not know how to do this quilting when it's just super easy to show that, and I'm trying to show more detail in my sewing. So I hope you guys are patient. If you guys, you're more than welcome to just skip pieces, and if you went a little too far, you could rewind back and just kind of figure out where you're at. What I always like to do is kind of hold my mouse above where it's playing, and it'll kind of show me where I'm at, and that's what I do, is I just kind of then go forward to that, if that makes sense. So like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys found this helpful. I want to give a huge shout out to King Bible Lessons. Thank you so much for the gifts that you sent me. They're beautiful. I truly appreciate it, and I'm so thankful to have you as a friend. And like I said, if you guys don't mind, take a second, go follow him, give him some support, and tell him I said hi. And I will see you guys on the next one.